Welcome to Roll Credits, a podcast about connections, both in film and in life. I'm Aaron.
I am Mandy.
Each episode, we aim to explore a cast member, actor, or director, or even a concept that ties a set of movies together. We like to talk about the history and the context of a movie and have a little fun while discussing our own personal opinions as well. Now, this is an Armbar Studios production. For more information on all of our projects, you can visit armbarstudios.com. We are back.
Been a minute.
Yeah, it has been a little bit, but we are excited because this is the end of our Stephen King arc. It's been a long road. Just so you're aware, of course, we went through Carrie, through Christine, Stand By Me, Misery, The Mangler, and now we are going with 2017's It, directed by Andy Muschietti. And it is a story of how in Derry, Maine, 7 outcast kids come together after seeing terrifying visions based around their fears, all tied to the dark history of their town. And so, like I said, this is the most recent movie on this list.
Most recent movie we've ever done, actually.
Yes. 2017 feels like just yesterday, but it is actually... 8 years ago. Unbelievable, right? Time flies.
Amen to that. Well, when we planned this out, it was 7 years ago.
Yeah. Just for realism's sake, we had to wait 7 years before recording this episode.
Yep, gotta get rid of the clown this way.
Yes, exactly. You know, we're just trying to make it real.
All right. Also, this is something that I wanted to bring up because, I've been waiting since literally 24 hours after dropping The Mangler. So there's this image that was online of Stephen King meeting with George R.R. Martin, and we need to post this on the feed. Behind them is 2 bags of Kroger brand tortilla chips, a giant plate of grapes, and what looks to be 8 kinds of dip. I can't tell any of them besides at least 2 of them seem to be Sabra hummus.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, Kroger chips, Sabra hummus. I'm down with that.
And I just want to say, completely unironically, this is exactly what I wanted out of the arc. It is a humanizing moment for a very human writer that writes on subhuman levels. For some reason, it just really struck a chord with me. It kind of reminds me of this one image of the pro wrestler Batista and Action Bronson meeting at a party. I didn't even realize this was Action Bronson at the time, but just inexplicably, Action Bronson is here at this one party that seems to be held at like a hotel room, and he's holding both an empty pizza box and a gun in his hand at the same time. Yes, it's. I think the big factor for me with this picture is just the background. It looks like the work break room.
That's really fun. It's fun to remember that these writers who have created all these massive stories, that have gone on to create massive movies, are very human. And it's fun to have a little bit of a reminder that, yes, George R.R. Martin and Stephen King also like Kroger chips and Sabra hummus. Just like me.
I think we can probably move on to today's episode. Just want to say before we started this arc, I had seen all but one of the movies we chose beforehand, which was The Mangler. That movie was exactly as funny as I was hoping it would be.
It was actually much worse than I expected it to be, which is an achievement.
Yeah, no disrespect to Tobe Hooper. That man created the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Frankly, he could make the worst movies of all time after that.
I'd still watch him.
And I'd still call him a good visionary horror director.
Yeah.
But, his output in the 90s was definitely questionable. But, no disrespect. I had a lot of fun with The Mangler. I think that was maybe the funniest movie we saw.
For sure.
Maybe the funniest movie in the history of roll credits, frankly.
It's been a really interesting arc. It's been really interesting sort of exploring these films because I think we picked it also called It Chapter 1 for a very specific reason, in that, in a sense, it's sort of the return to form in a lot of people's eyes of the King style. But we'll get into all of that near the end.
And I want to say, I feel like we really put our best foot forward with the picks this time. Like, it's not like, say, for example, Chris Farley, where we don't really have like a lot to choose from, or Joel, where we're trying to kind of ping pong between, well, he was a very divisive guy. Here's kind of a divisive movie. Here's a very well acclaimed movie.
Correct.
Really, I think, if you want films we're a little more critical of that a lot of people love, I mean, Cujo, Pet Sematary, The Mist, we didn't choose that, but I think both of us kind of have mixed opinions on those movies.
Yeah, correct. I mean, there are very iconic movies for various reasons, but, we kind of left them off just because, we didn't feel like talking about them. And I just wanted to do this a little bit differently and, explore, the big ones and then some under the radar ones.
And I never wanted this to be us dunking on King. Even if I can, absolutely list criticisms about his work, his writing style, he is a guaranteed legend. So, we might get a little critical this arc, but we did try and pick movies that interested us, and we, I think we did a great job with it, honestly. However, I'm just going to say, as far as our movie choices go, it was apparent from, the second we talked about this, what episode 1 and episode 6 was going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, that really does kind of go into the whole history, I think. It gives you a really interesting look at how his films and films based on his work have evolved over time, but also what hasn't changed. And I think that's really fascinating. So we're going to do things a little bit differently this episode with the section called At the Movies at the Time. Now, normally, of course, we go through Siskel and Ebert or Roger Ebert's reviews or similar contemporary movie critics because they were the big deal back then. Obviously, with a more modern movie, we're not going to have actual quotes from Roger Ebert and Siskel, with both of them passing long before this movie came out. But despite that, I did check Roger Ebert's website. Because it is still up and running with a cadre of guest writers and staffers kind of keeping the domain name alive.
The spirit of Roger Ebert, you could say. Exactly.
And so I did want to just sort of talk a little bit first about a review by Christy Lemire on RogerEbert.com, who she gave it 3 out of 4 stars. And then I want to talk about something a little bit different. So let me just quote just 2 paragraphs I thought were pretty interesting. Despite the many terrifying moments they endure in their quests, scenes that will leave you trembling and giggling all at once, it is even more powerful in the warm, easy camaraderie between its young stars. Certainly you could view it as a straight-up horror flick, but the underlying allegory of these characters facing their deepest fears as they enter adulthood gives the movie more emotional heft, a bit of bittersweet within the suffering. Tonally, it feels like a throwback to great King adaptations of yore, particularly Stand By Me, with its ragtag band of kids on a morbid adventure, affecting bravado and affectionately hassling each other to mask their true jitters.
It is hilarious that, I guess I shouldn't say it's hilarious they immediately call out Stand By Me, frankly. I think when I had first seen it, I don't think you had seen Stand By Me at the time.
I had not seen Stand By Me.
Oh, no, but at the same, you saw it for this one, but I called out Stand By Me as one of the things that it was most influenced by, and then of course it definitely does have the classic Stephen King feel. So I think honestly that review nailed it on the head.
Exactly, and that's what I do find really interesting. That contemporary reviewers, of course, immediately saw this as a return to form for Stephen King. It's funny because personally, when I did watch it, I had other comparisons, but I suppose all of these comparisons are all kind of hearkening back to the nexus that is Stand By Me. But I feel like we'll go into a little more detail when we actually go into our review. But I wanted to talk a little bit about this because unlike most of the movies we have covered and probably will cover on the podcast, we have a unique perspective because this movie is from 2017. We were there at the time when it released. We know what the feeling was around this.
I actually read the It book back in, I think, a little out of high school. Truth be told, I didn't really like it very much. I thought the setup was good, but, the ending to the kid's story and then basically the whole adult story section afterwards, not to get too much into it, it felt like kind of a series of bad decisions. Controversially, I actually think it's something that the movies and even the original miniseries improves on. So, because I didn't love the book, I actually skipped on it while it was initially in theaters. I figured I was going to go ahead and check it out later down the line. But, days become weeks, weeks become months, months become years, and I only ended up getting to it later after our friends spoke so highly about it, and that was all the way in 2022 with you. We kind of did like a double feature of it, and you know what? I don't even have like a really good reason that I had missed it. I watched a lot of movies that year, as some of them twice or three times, and some real crappy films. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. I watched the Sword Art Online movie that year in theaters, and I also saw the 2017 Dark Tower movie, also a Stephen King movie. Maybe it would have helped if I read the books. Didn't think it was very good.
Yeah. So and it's funny because when it released, I didn't think I liked horror movies, and I've just never wanted to watch it because of those early sort of impressions, with you being really, not being really sure if you wanted to see it. I didn't like horror movies at the time. But what I do remember is this movie was huge.
Oh, yeah.
It was massive. I was working at the call center at the time, and I remember everyone was talking about this movie. All of my coworkers were like, "Oh, have you seen It yet? Oh, it's so good. Have you seen the new It yet?" All of them like talking about it. It was like from a cultural perspective huge, and you can see that reflected like immediately. I would argue that Bill Skarsgård's Pennywise is more iconic. Like you can see the imagery on stuff like socks. For example, which you own.
Yeah.
And backpacks. Just we have a poster in your bedroom with a handful of horror villains on it, and they picked Skarsgård's Pennywise as the model, not Tim Curry.
It is fascinating. Like you look at a lot of people doing slasher villain stuff. It feels as though like they're not even going into the Curry Pennywise. It's been completely rewritten in a sense. If you look at like merchandise of like the slasher villains, like guaranteed, basically no matter where you go, you're going to see Skarsgård Pennywise, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, he really took over, and Curry's Pennywise and the miniseries was very popular.
This is the most financially successful Stephen King movie by far.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you can definitely tell this was the movie that everybody kind of showed up to. I think that this is probably the biggest box office return for horror movies in 2017, which honestly was a huge time for horror movies. I'd have to check the numbers, but it's honestly either this or Get Out. I'm fairly sure of it.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible year for horror. So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We were around. You could see it infect the zeitgeist, and it's still everywhere. Even with It Chapter 2, and we'll talk a little bit about our feelings on It Chapter 2, not being as much of a success, I would say that Chapter 1 has succeeded. I mean, how many people do, We All Float Down Here parodies and things like that. So, Yeah, that's just what I wanted to talk about because we were there for the response. We can remember it. We can give you a first-hand experience of, all the anecdotes and also, some objective stuff too. So,
speaking from the perspective of people who have marathon this, I don't know if you'll entirely agree with me. I really think that following 2 immediately after 1, if you can put in the time for it, I think would make it well worth it.
Absolutely.
If this is your first time watching both, it may just soften the blow on the second half. I can't say for certain, but that's how I feel about it.
I mean, I thought they were both about as good as each other in different ways.
That said, just today, just for this episode, we are, just to clarify one more time, we are only covering part 1. This is the one with the biggest footprint about it, so let's get into history.
Absolutely. Take it away.
All right, so sources this time include StephenKing.com/film, Dread Central, The Toronto Star, Tribeca Film, Collider, Fangoria Magazine, and The Hollywood Reporter. Little did even Stephen King know that the golden era of Stephen King adaptations wouldn't die in the 90s. A whole generation that had grown up on the Carries, the Christines, and most importantly, all the novels and TV shows that he had made up to that point were now in Hollywood, and they were ready to make something that, up until the 2010s, felt almost impossible. King adaptations that could stay true to the text, but turn an author whose work was just as scary as it was cheesy into legitimately amazing movies. Many loved King, but nobody really understood King more than the kids and teens who could take his stories at face value, legitimately afraid to turn the page. And among the most prolific names are Osgood Perkins, son of the late great actor Anthony Perkins and director of 2025's The Monkey. Mike Flanagan, my personal favorite, one of the greatest horror directors of the modern generation, who helped adapt Gerald's Game and Doctor Sleep and is working on a Carrie TV series. In spite of everything that the adaptations of Gerald's Game and Doctor Sleep had going against them, he managed to succeed with them just due to the labors of love. And then finally, you had the team of Andy Muschietti and Gary Dauberman, who found success with horror hits like Mama and the Annabelle series, respectively. A match made in hell to make one of Stephen King's most iconic books, It. A story about a shape-shifting evil that exists within the hometown of Derry, prompting several kids to step up and save it. And Stephen has said that the inspiration for the book, It, came as he walked along a bridge to pick up his car from a repair shop, just as the day was winding down. He remembered the story of the Billy Goat's Gruff with the troll under the bridge, and the idea struck him to write a story about a troll that lived under a bridge. And the idea was one that he thought about off and on again for several years, although the big revelation came as he thought about Bangor, Maine, and how the town was all connected by one big sewer system. So putting the pieces together, he thought of a town where everyone was secretly walking on top of a sewer that housed a troll. And after sitting on that idea and coming up with a basic cast of characters over about 3 years, he started writing the story in 1980 and then buckling down to finish it 1 year later. So you could say in total the book took about 5 years to write from when he had first started it. And like any Stephen King book, there was an audience to this. He was the biggest name of the 70s, 80s, 90s as far as horror, so of course we got adaptations. First came the It 1990 miniseries, as I've alluded to earlier, starring Tim Curry, perhaps the most famous of all of King's miniseries. And this isn't about the It miniseries, so I won't dwell too much about it, but I do want to give 2 interesting stories about that series. So ABC actually tried to make and air it without Stephen King seeing any part of it. Yeah.
Oh boy, That would have went fine.
Yeah, so King had actually threatened to not do any interviews if they did this. Not even the damn TV guide was his exact words. So they let him in. And the original version of the screenplay was also originally 6 hours long and, in King's mind, a masterpiece. But the studio forced them to cut it down to 4 hours, which unfortunately led to the original planned director to step down. Do you know who it was?
No, who was it?
His friend, George A. Romero.
Oh my, wow. Wow. Man, George A. Romero's It and George A. Romero's Resident Evil are the two George Romero projects I'm so sad we never got.
I'll say this. I do think that the director they did end up getting was good. The studio filled the space with actually two directors. The first half was directed by Tommy Lee Wallace, best known for directing Fright Night Part 2 and Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
Well, I do love Halloween 3.
The second half of the series was directed by the actual screenwriter for this series, which is actually Lawrence D. Cohen, which you may actually remember me mentioning him. He's the one who wrote the screenplay for Carrie.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
So, I do love George Romero to pieces. I'm happy that the series didn't need him for the adaptation to be a success. Mm-hmm. I would never was a clownophobic kid. I never really understood clownophobia, but the people who were absolutely loved it from my personal interactions.
Right.
And I think that the image of a scary clown in most people's eyes is represented with Tim Curry Pennywise.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's a really funny or kind of an interesting delineation, because I do think you're right. I think if you think scary clown, for the most part, you're going to think of Tim Curry Pennywise. But if you think Pennywise, then you think of Bill Skarsgård Pennywise.
It's very funny that when I had actually first found out about this series, I was decently young, maybe about middle school. Mm-hmm. I saw it in a Target as a young kid. And I was told to put it back, kind of just because it was like, oh, this is a scary clown movie. But, I'm just going to be honest. Maybe I wasn't, looking at the signs, but it kind of just looked like a regular-ass clown to me.
That's the thing. I'm going to be real. I do not have coulrophobia. I just don't. I think clowns are funny. They make me laugh. I can get it, because I definitely think that there's, sort of fear in sort of the dingy carnival aesthetic.
Yeah.
But clowns themselves are not scary to me.
And when the horror remake trend of the late 2000s and early 2010s happened, where they would adapt nearly any slasher movie, King's previously adapted work was mostly left alone. We did have TV versions of The Shining and Trucks, which was Maximum Overdrive's original name in the 90s. But, in terms of actual film remakes, the most notable remake that we got prior to 2017 was Carrie, which got the two remakes in the 2000s.
Right.
But it was a different story, given the fact that it wasn't really a movie before. It felt like a film adaptation could still be justified, provided it could deal with the book's lengthy page count.
Right. It's funny, because I'm just imagining a 2000s remake of Christine, and it's just Death Race.
One good thing about readapting It as well is it could fix King's sole sore spot of the original It miniseries, which is that Richie's character had to be cut down drastically for the show for pacing reasons, which made him come across as less complex and more of an asshole as far as King was concerned. Production started in 2009, nearly a decade before the movie that we ended up getting, so it shouldn't come as any surprise to you that a lot of things changed from the initial plan with Warner Brothers. The movie's initial writer was a man by the name of David Kajganich, and apologies if I butchered that. He's best known for writing Bones and All and the 2018 Suspiria movie. You know, ironically, he is also the connecting point to our last arc. Because David actually wrote Schumacher's last major horror feature, Blood Creek.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We should watch that sometime.
I plan to do it on October, actually.
Sounds great.
So it was his short-lived time writing the It film that established the time shift from the 50s and the 80s to the 80s and the 2010s. So that was an early idea. Following him, with his name on the final cut credited as a writer, you do have Cary Fukunaga. So he is actually embroiled in a lot of controversies. So the less said about him, the better, but he is tied very heavily to the struggles of this movie. So we're going to be talking about him here because he only ended up dropping out of the movie in 2015 due to a hard disagreement with New Line Cinema. All in all, he actually spent 4 years of the film's 8-year journey to the big screen, and there's a few versions of Fukunaga's script that actually is floating around online. I think all the decisions left on the cutting floor were really for the best. There are some very strange decisions. Characterization is a lot more flat in the first version. They actually completely changed the character of Stan into a goldfish.
What?
Yeah.
Stan the goldfish?
Now, Stan, the member of the loser squad, was changed into a goldfish. I guess because the idea was that he didn't really contribute enough to the plot of the It movies.
Oh, God. I hate that.
Pennywise's true form in the movie is also different. They make him into a starfish.
Is this a joke?
No.
What?
They also go into even more uncomfortable territory with Beverly than what makes it into the 2017 movie. Mm-hmm. You might be able to get kind of the implication of that.
Yeah.
More important to me, though, neither version really sticks to the spirit of the book. I think some of the decisions that were made in this were bad, but, you know, some people do actually like Fukunaga's script. I'm just not one of them, but I'm not going to spend this time really lambasting it. Thankfully, once Cary had dropped out of the movie, New Line only took 2 months to find a director, and they managed to turn this dying production around to release the film in just over 2 years after that. Their pick was Andy Muschietti, who at the time only really had one film to his name, the Guillermo del Toro produced Mama. So throughout the year, they'd actually worked to rewrite the script, and several characters were cast and then also recast. Will Poulter, who you may remember as the You Guys Get Paid guy in Meet the Millers, was actually initially set to play Pennywise. He was the most notable name on the production, and he ended up dropping out in favor of the relatively unknown Bill Skarsgård.
That is fascinating. The We're the Millers guy? The kid from We're the Millers?
Apparently they were very high on him and his performance. Huh. So, it could be kind of those one of those you have to be in the room.
Yeah,
situations.
I'm sure, slap the clown makeup on him and see what happens, sure.
Intentional or not, there was also a major breakthrough in the marketing department that showed that Warner Bros. Needed to continue putting time and energy into this production and hype it up like hell when it was ready to release. And Warner Bros. Had no part in it. That was the phenomenon. That was Stranger Things Season 1.
Ah! Okay, so as you were doing that sentence, I fully admit I thought you were going to mention that really weird few weeks in 2015 or 16. I can't remember. I think 2015, where there were just all those clown attacks. Do you remember the clown attacks?
I thought that happened later. I thought that was around the time of... No, this was probably I thought it was a year before Joker or something like that. Yeah. Honestly, no, I didn't even think about that, but... you might be right. It's just something that nobody else has put together before now.
Yes. People were ready for the clown movie. But no, absolutely. Stranger Things, I completely agree, had to have been a major influence of the success of this movie.
Stranger Things itself was inspired by Stephen King's and by Stephen King and the various genre films of the time. And both it and Stranger Things had shared an actor, that being Finn Wolfhard, among their cast. So, just 1 month after Stranger Things debuted, we had producer of It 2017, Dan Lin, directly comparing the two, saying that It 2017 was going to be a little bit like Stranger Things.
Oh, yeah. And it really reflects in the final product.
Which, combined with the fact that the film stuck to their guns with an R rating and the film's fall release date just 1 year later, made the 2017 It film just a smash success. According to Forbes, the film's budget was, at the very highest, $40 million, which makes the $704 million return the biggest ever on a King movie to date.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that high.
Oh, yeah. And, for comparison, the most successful non-It movie that's was a Stephen King movie was The Green Mile at $286 million. It doubles The Green Mile.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, even more than Shawshank, more than The Green Mile, that's pretty amazing.
And between this and the other claimed and high-grossing products with Stephen King's name on it, it really does feel like King Mania is back for the first time since the 90s. Really, who knows how long it'll last, but we have new versions of The Running Man and The Long Walk coming out this year.
Oh, yeah. I'm really looking forward to the new Running Man. It's going to be awesome.
Edgar Wright.
I love Edgar Wright.
I'm just going to watch the old one for the first time this year as well in just a few weeks, but I'm going to be there literally in the theater for...
Oh, yeah, we're going to have a good time.
Now, I would also be remiss not to mention that in between last episode and this episode, Max had actually dropped a teaser trailer for It, Welcome to Derry, a new series based on the movie. Not a sponsor for the record, not that we get those on the show.
We'll never get sponsors.
And unlike the last two arcs where we were talking about all these people post-mortem, King is still alive and with us today. Not even a car accident in 1999 that broke several bones in his body and collapsed his lung could stop him from writing for long, or even guest starring in The Simpsons just a little over a year after this had happened. His last film role was actually in the adaptation of It Chapter 2, and he's just released another novel this year, with him saying just last month that he was almost done with another novel that he's been writing, a sequel to his 1984 book, The Talisman. So for once, I just want to say thank you to Stephen. He can finish novels in the time it takes us just to finish this arc.
I know. Stephen, you have so much more work ethic than we do.
We love you.
We love you, buddy. Keep writing your weird things like your cell phone books that drive people crazy. Keep writing about your evil exercise bike paintings and all this other nonsense. Keep it up, man.
Now, I'm sure we're both ready to get into the breakdown, but before we do, I think it's time we get physical.
Yes. So, let's get physical. This is a really interesting case, actually. So, again, because this is a modern film, it's a modern film that was released before movies stopped being physically released, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So this is fascinating. So let's first talk, of course, there is a Blu-ray and a 4K UHD out. And I believe the UHD does come with the Blu-ray disc, and the Blu-ray itself is good. In fact, according to Michael Rubin of Blu-ray.com, he says it's a very good Blu-ray release. He does feel that it's a little dark, especially in the climax, which I just think that's just the movie. But he gives it high marks. However, this is interesting because it was also kind of an example of the fledgling at the time ultra high def 4K movement, UHD 4K disc. It is a 2K movie. It was shot on 2K, upscaled to 4K. And so, Michael Rubin, who reviewed the Blu-ray, does say that he doesn't think it's worth it to upgrade to the UHD because the picture difference is not actually that different. So this is an interesting case where the best way to watch this movie may just be getting the Blu-ray and letting your 4K player do the work.
And let's say, for whatever reason, you don't care about any quality whatsoever for these movies. Not 2K, not 4K, not even DVD. If you want, I have found customs of It Part 1 and Part 2, 2017 and 2019 on VHS.
Hell yeah, let's go. VHS is back, baby. It's really funny that VHS is back because I actually do think that there's something artistically interesting about putting a modern film on VHS. If you would, I think that the lack of quality can be really interesting for horror movies, but let's be real, these are art pieces. They're going to go on your shelf. But let's talk a little bit about what's included with the Blu-ray release, because
Tell me.
This actually does follow how almost every other Stephen King movie has been getting really good physical releases. If you're a fan of Stephen King and you're a fan of these movies, more often than not, you will find good ways to watch these movies. So yeah, the Blu-ray, which all these features are also included in the ultra high def version, comes with several short making ofs, like one which was how Pennywise was realized for this film. So they interviewed Bill Skarsgård. That's about a 15-minute little mini documentary. One where, they talk about how the kids all got together and kind of perfected their chemistry, which of course the chemistry is excellent, as the review earlier mentioned. There's an interview with Stephen King, brand new, about this movie about his research and creation of the town of Derry, deleted scenes, and some trailers. So really, if you want a little bit extra about the movie, you're going to get a little bit extra about the movie. So solid stuff.
We both talk about how it feels like a lot of modern day DVDs and Blu-rays. There's not really much as far as features are concerned. I feel like even directors' commentaries are just falling out of fashion.
Yeah.
They're basically like, nobody buys these for anything more than just to watch the movie. So here you go. Here's the movie. And, I will say, if I was to buy this, yes, I want to be able to watch the movie. But if you give me a really good version that has a lot of cool features, I'm definitely going to be a little more inclined to buy this one.
In fact, let me go on a little bit of a tangent here. I want to talk about a movie that we only kind of liked. It's called Dirty Work, Norm Macdonald's comedy movie. And it's a lot of fun, but it's not, to us, the greatest comedy ever or whatever. Earlier this year, Vinegar Syndrome released a 4K of this movie with as many dug-up special features they could find, including completely reconstructing the R-rated cut and including it on this release. And I bought that release because, to me, that is an incredible piece of archival work with a ton of interesting film history made by people who care. And even recently, we watched our Arrow copy of Robot Jocks. Funny movie. Not the best movie again, but a lot of fun. And it had just all these interviews with these actors where they were just giving you all this information about this movie. And yeah, it's, not any kind of high art. But that's what I'm saying is like, come on, give us some good features here. It's good to preserve these films, and it's good to get a little something extra, Some bang for your buck.
You see a lot of people nowadays talking about how much they miss the DVD menu era. I think it really is time for, at the very least, the option for these things to come back. Because I think, if you want my honest opinion, one of my favorite DVDs that I own is the DVD for the film Stay Alive, unrated edition.
Yes.
It is, by all means, a terrible movie.
Oh, it's awful.
However, the DVD menu for it involves a character creator, because this is like a video game horror movie. So if you go ahead and create the perfect character through the DVD menu, then it allows you to unlock even more special features, which...
what a great little Easter egg. Like,
yeah.
That's just so fun. And it just kind of, gives you a little bit of immersion into the movie. We talked about this with the Tommy Boy Blu-ray, how fun the little menu was because it had the hood flying up and stuff. So it's like, just put a little effort in. Like, let's just have some fun. To me, movies are an experience and, should be enjoyed fully. Whether that's, going to a theater or making a movie night out of it or finding a really fun physical copy. I think that all of that goes into and affects how you view a movie. And, so this is just my little plea. Make more of those.
Amen. I think we've delayed it enough. It's been 1 week since we started this, I think. So let's get into the breakdown. Before we actually talk about the movie itself, like the full scene by scene, I really just wanted to get into just the symbolic nature of it and this movie's. So funny enough, I'd actually watched a review of the 90s It miniseries by famous TV video game reviewer James Rolfe, a.k.a. the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Hello, James.
Yeah. So he made a point to say that Pennywise was not something that he felt was physical, but a representation of fear, which, I think majority of people would listen to that and say, well, isn't every horror story or movie symbolic in some capacity? But, I mean, we even talked about this when we were talking about Christine. Christine is such an accurate movie about the pipeline effect, the fear of losing somebody that you love to just alt-right ideas. And I've seen enough from James to know that he sometimes leans into the absurdity of a product, but generally speaking, he engages with the themes of his movies very regularly. So why specifically it? And I know why. Technically, the clown and his illusions can't really be seen by adults. And I think there's this effect with the clown that's similar to the sleigh bell at the end of the Polar Express, but it's like the horror version of that. So instead of not believing in Santa Claus, it's all about how, as adults, we've grown complacent to kind of the evils of the world versus viewing it from fresh eyes. And from the outside, it is sort of a cynical movie, you could say, directly stating that the evils of society will always exist. But it's also something optimistic because it's saying that as long as you recognize that evil and seek to fight it, you won't let it influence you.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, especially right now. There's a lot of things where it's easy to fall into despair, and I think that you need to be able to put one foot in front of the other and fight where you can, because, you can't let the evil sewer clown win.
Let's get into the breakdown.
Yes. So, I knew that this movie, watching it, that this movie gets a Stephen King movie when it opens with nice piano music.
Nice piano music?
It's like, look, if your movie opens with a cool sound effect or good music, you're halfway there already.
And I'd love to talk about the opening shot. The opening shot this time is rainfall on the street in Derry in which a little boy named Georgie lives. Now, I think it's well known, but it's worth mentioning. This movie is set 27 years after the original It book takes place, and the evil entity known as Pennywise comes to the town once every 27 years. So what they did was shift it, so the first part of the story is now set in the 80s instead of the 50s, and the second part of the movie is set in the 2010s instead of the 80s. And, it bothers me just a little how in all of these movies, if you have a movie that's set around like the 80s time frame, and this goes back to as far as the actual 80s, they all have every modern movie poster in their bedroom. How in the fuck?
Yeah, our friend, who we watch a lot of movies with, Tugon, has a thing, ironically, about how they always use the poster for the John Carpenter movie, The Thing.
Not a very well-received movie at the time.
People hated that movie. It's like, come on, guys, we get it. But no, people hated that movie. But yeah, I want to talk about this opening scene because it's excellent. And it's so good that, let's be completely honest, it kind of carried this movie.
Oh, well, it's definitely
like,
one of the... Oh, for sure. This is definitely the scene where everybody...
like, this movie was... This scene was so strong that it, like... I think the whole movie is strong. You know, spoiler alert, I like this movie. But this opening scene is so good at being a Stephen King opening scene, and that is very shocking as well.
What I love about it, the entire opening up until our first kill, basically feels like a Steven Spielberg movie. Like
yes.
you get kind of this magical score, maybe like a little Danny Elfman-esque.
Yes, there's like the bells, there's like the swooping of the score, the strings.
But you kind of get the feeling of nostalgia and childhood and whimsy in it, really. Up until the point in which Pennywise shows up in the sewer grate. What do you actually think about Skarsgård's Pennywise?
So, looks-wise, I think he's excellent. I actually think he's really very interesting sort of performance. You know, I think the voice is fun. I like the pop, 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 pop. You know, he has a lot of very fun verbal tics in this scene. And I think that, especially later on, I think that when it comes to sort of doing the uncanny, sort of bizarre, sort of unreal humor element, I think he's very good at that. So the scene where he bites Georgie, to me that looked a little silly. Well, it is very good, though. Please, don't get me wrong. But it is just sort of funny how he's just like, oh!
To me, my favorite part about Skarsgård Pennywise is that he doesn't look like a human with a few monster features. He looks like he's human, but something is off.
Yes.
There's a lazy eye with him. His mannerisms are abnormal.
There's just sort of that, uncanny is a great word for it. Like the big forehead where you can, his face feels too low.
He also has buck teeth, but the buck teeth are like fangs, like vampire fangs.
Very fun. It's a great look and a very memorable performance.
Everything up until that bite, which honestly, I get feeling that it's a little goofy. To me, I think this is probably the scariest part for me. But
yeah, it's shocking. I mean, I think that's the thing is it does such a great job at building the dread, and it's genuinely shocking to see Georgie dragged away.
Yeah, I think that's really the
stomach. That's the thing.
That's the part that gets you.
Yes.
Him crawling in the rain with missing an arm, just as Pennywise stretches out his arm and drags him in. Fucking horrific.
Oh, that is freaky. Absolutely.
Yeah, you think about every single thing you heard growing up of the kids who went missing, and this is basically, in a way, what you sort of imagine. Like, so they got kind of picked up out of nowhere and got just taken. It's absolutely horrific. Now, after this, we flash forward and we're introduced to a group of bullied kids, which we later get introduced to fully as the Losers Club. We talked about Stand By Me earlier. We watched Stand By Me a few months ago. Funny enough, there's a moment where the character Mike goes down an alleyway, and I swear to you, this is the exact same alley as seen in the beginning of Stand By Me. If it's not, it sure looks extremely close to it.
Like they either recreated it or they found the spot.
Yeah, when they're going around town at the beginning of Stand By Me before they head off on their trip to find the body, the same alleyway which we have the burning alive scene, and also later the big mural where Pennywise shows up in. Like, that is the setting where, like, I swear to you, you could compare back to back. Like, it's the exact same kind of alleyway from Stand By Me.
Absolutely. And, that's if there's one thing, speaking of Stand By Me, I think that this movie succeeds, and why it succeeded so well and why it lodged itself in people's brains was kind of the 1-2 punch of a truly great opening scene, and then immediately you understand every single character in this movie. Like, all the main kids. You get them. They all have motivations. They all have, ways they talk. They all have very distinct characters and interactions. They have very distinct relationships. And all of those are very immediately established and are very, very memorable.
I have my own opinions about how writing has gotten within the last 10 years as far as feeding information as well as not letting the film breathe enough. But if there's one thing I think we've gotten significantly better at, it's characterization.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
And you can definitely feel it here. Also, I want to say, this same scene I mentioned in the alleyway, you can see across the street, the movie theater, we have Batman and Lethal Weapon 2 at the time, which does line up. There is a specific moment in time in which this would be the case. And this is actually the start of a montage of encounters we get with all the boys encountering Pennywise for the first time. Stan's fear for Pennywise is of this distorted woman from a painting, which, honest question, does she look at all familiar to you?
Valak? No. Actually, it's more like, was it The Scream?
Yeah, it's clearly based on The Scream, but, to me, she looks a little bit like a certain Andy Muschietti horror film. Obviously, I'm talking about the movie The Flash.
Mama.
Mama.
Yes,
Mama from the
course.
movie Mama.
Mama from the movie Mama. Solid little film.
She's got kind of the same stretched out face and limbs and all that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was like a full reference, but I don't remember this kind of like direct image from the book, so I think it was added for this movie.
Something I really enjoy about all the kind of the kid fear segments is kind of how slowly we're eased into them. I really like that they come off as very nightmarish, where everything seems really normal, and then slowly you realize that something is very wrong. And and that's kind of the whole point of the whole movie, is sort of these kids realizing, hey, something is very wrong.
Going back to the symbolism, this is the era in life where you're going to start to recognize, hey, these bad things are happening around my town. What the fuck?
And I think it's really interesting and pretty good that they did this in the 80s, because it allowed them to do some interesting things that they may not have been able to do with the 50s.
I also think that it helps that they introduce some of these characters independently, but also they naturally get with the group.
Yes.
So obviously, you have the three, I think it's three that starts out in the Losers Club. And then we get Beverly, Ben, and Mike. They all kind of have their own independent scenes before eventually joining the main crew by the end. It's a very much, I think that also helps as far as figuring out their characters. You all get to spend a little bit of time with them and get to like them.
Yeah, and that's the really fun thing about this film, is that I do feel that it gives itself time to breathe, which is nice.
And speaking of both an independent moment with Ben, as well as speaking of an independent moment with one of the kids, plus also kind of a natural horror scene, I do want to talk about the scene with Ben in the library, where he flips the pages in the book, and we just one of the best scares early on is with every single page that he flips in this book. They zoom more and more onto this image of a dead kid's face. And then Ben sees behind him a red balloon, which he follows, which leads him to a trail of bloody eggs that take him downstairs and then to a flashing light basement where he's attacked by a headless soldier.
Oh, yeah.
Probably one of the most elaborate ones, but also it is one of the most nightmarish scenes, I think, out of all of them, because it's not like all of this stuff really makes sense. Some of it technically connects to each other, and I mean, you can definitely understand symbolism for it, but some of these aspects, like why are we getting like a fucking trail of eggs into this library basement where the soldier is?
Yeah, well, it's that's just how it is. Kid horrors don't have to make sense. I was scared of many things, and I still am scared of many things that make no sense. That's just how it is. But that's the appeal of the nightmarish feel, I think, is that it allows itself to be symbolic. It allows itself to be really On the subject of, you mentioned Beverly. What a fantastic actress.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely crushes it.
I mean, she was... if I remember correctly, she had a pretty good actress in the 90s version, too, but
I think her character is just fantastic as well. But
I think that like the young actress who plays her, she is incredibly talented. I think she has a very long career for her.
And that's kind of the thing about all these kids is that, again, what really makes them so memorable is they're all great actors, and they all have real chemistry with each other, and it's just really cool to see that really reflected on screen.
So, one of the first scenes we get where the kids start to meet up with one another, we actually see as Ben is getting chased off by one of the bullies, a kid by the name of Patrick. He is actually one of our first kills in the movie because he goes to chase Ben with a fucking flamethrower setup.
Let me tell you, the bully dies and he deserved it.
Well, I don't like saying that any of these kids deserve to die, to be honest with you.
Okay, no, yes. Maybe that's a little harsh.
They're all being kind of influenced. But he's definitely very close to actually murdering someone.
Yeah.
Not just him
and
either.
Like carving something into Ben's stomach. And ugh.
I think we talked about how in Stand By Me, the bullies were like some of the most violent bullies we've ever seen. Like, this might actually be the ultimate violent bully movie, because we have the one who nearly murders Mike with a rock and then... tries to shoot a cat earlier. This is the murder bully gang.
Yeah, that's their gimmick. They murder. What is murder but the ultimate form of bullying?
The Sun Tzu said this, actually.
Yep. Many have said this, and many will say this.
So this scene actually has Patrick going to chase Ben in the sewers, not realizing that Ben has already left the sewers. He finds a bunch of zombies who he thinks are the kids that he is going to beat up. And as he runs away from that, he finds a red balloon with the words dairy on it that pops right before Pennywise gets him. And I think from there you immediately get kind of the sense that the real evil is the town itself, in a way.
Yep, absolutely. And that's really sort of the... Again, the gist of all this is that, you have this town that is supposed to be this idyllic, sort of, it makes sense to me that the book was set in the 50s and that this was set in the 80s, because I believe that that's such a genius move, because both times these movies kind of came out at a good time where that nostalgia was strong, as sort of the good old days.
And you know what? I'm going to give them credit. We joke about stuff like the posters and all that, but I don't actually feel like the 80s references are on overdrive here. This is not Ready Player It.
Yeah. No, not at all.
And one of them I think is actually very beneficial for the script, which is So obviously Eddie is the hypochondriac
Yes.
of the group, which is because of his mother. His mother kind of instilled in him this idea that he is so sick, he needs to be healthy, he can't be worked up too much.
Yeah.
And one thing that Eddie says he's scared about is AIDS, which, given Eddie's arc and also Richie's arc in the second movie,
Yes.
I think that it is like Richie being afraid to come out. I think we can just say this. So it was always implied in the book, but in the movies, it's more explicitly kind of stated that Richie is gay, even if his younger self constantly brags about wanting to have sex with women or that he has sex with women.
And this is kind of one of the things that made us watch the movie was because, we have friends who are, very media savvy, who, love horror. And I saw them just watching this movie for the first time and freaking out specifically about one of the hallucinations with Pennywise holding a bushel of balloons in front of the creepy old house. And what do those balloons form? An upside-down triangle, which, obviously very, very overt kind of queer symbol. And that's something that really pulses through a lot of, both these things. And that's absolutely why I think that, moving it to the 80s, worked so well and was so beneficial in that regard.
And it's just really helps reinforce why Richie would have this fear. Even in the 2010s, where time has passed and, a lot of this stuff is still... at the time, it seemed like it was getting better.
Getting better, yeah.
Getting better, like why Richie would be afraid to come out to his friend. His friend, he remembers his friend kind of had this fear of AIDS.
Yes, and I think that, I think very specifically the discussion of AIDS ties into the greater themes of the film as a whole. And again, as, you think about the 80s, from a 2010s perspective is like, man, the 80s were simpler. They were this cooler time. Things were so great in the 80s. All the great media, all the great music. And then you think like, wait, no, there is that lurking evil of, we've talked about Reaganism, of, how bad things were for very specific communities, for the queer community, the AIDS epidemic and how it was absolutely ravaging us. And, And that ties to kind of this dark underbelly of there are all these things that the kids are talking about that the adults refuse to acknowledge because something is very wrong, not just with the town, but with the air. And that's important, And I think that's important is that we can't allow ourselves to be so swept up in memories of our childhood and in memories of, bygone eras that we refuse to look at, the dark underbellies.
And you see that happen in the 80s, too, which I think was very appropriate. The 80s would idolize 50s culture, and meanwhile the 2010s idolized 80s culture, and we're seeing it again with the 90s, too.
Absolutely. Yep.
After that, we catch back up with Beverly. She has a scene with the pharmacist as well as her dad, and it is insane how utterly creepy like both of them are towards their younger daughter, still like barely just reaching puberty for the first time.
Oh yeah, that is
sadly not unrealistic.
Oh
but
yeah,
it makes your skin crawl.
Absolutely, it's so well done. So truly disturbing, the awful father. I love how it's handled. I think that it's handled in that really just utterly despair. You know exactly what's going on here. And like my heart aches for Beverly. It is Jesus Christ.
The dad complimenting Beverly's hair,
yes,
gets her to go to the sink and then cut it all off.
Yes.
Until she has just a short haircut.
The whole town is rotten. It's fun because, all the hair goes down the sink. All the sewers are connected.
Yep.
All the fears go down the sink, go down the sewers. The kid goes down the sewers. The hair goes down the sewers. The bully is killed in the sewers. All of this. All to, to feed the troll, as it were.
And a little bit later, we get the dad's reaction to this, which is he can't love the fact that Beverly did this, even if it was just for herself, just because it makes Beverly look like a boy.
Oh, yeah. And he says that after, frankly, one of my favorite kind of terrible fucking scenes in the movie, or scare scenes in the movie, which is the PT bathroom.
Oh, God. And
the blood pouring out of the drain. Beverly goes into the bathroom and her hair and catches her and tries to pull her down the drain, the blood. And this happens after the scene in the pharmacy where she feels that she has to flirt with the old pharmacy cashier. Again, all of this is just tied to she's a kid, being forced in this world, being leered at by these disgusting adults,
I think the interesting thing about that blood scene is I think it's the first time in the movie where you get kind of a guaranteed example of an adult not seeing the horror of the town. Because, we get earlier the scene with Ben in the library, where he's being chased around by a headless soldier. He's sort of stopped out of that scare. He's sort of stopped out of that chase scene by when he runs into a librarian who's just outside of the room. So, and she didn't see any of this. To her, it just looked like this kid was running around this library area.
Right.
So that was probably the closest we've got of an interaction until you mentioned the PT bathroom. It is this bathroom that is entirely encased in blood after just a huge geyser of blood. A huge geyser of blood comes out after her old hair goes fucking Venom symbiote.
Yes. And
we get the dad coming into this bathroom, and he doesn't have any reaction whatsoever to the fact this room is all covered in blood because he can't see it.
Yeah, all he cares about is, that she looks like a boy.
And we can even see later as the kids all clean up this bathroom, so it's not like this is just entirely an illusion, at least not to them.
Not to them. To the kids, this is very real. And that's the whole thing, is that all of their fears are completely real because they're kids kind of growing up and again, realizing that there are things in this world worthy of being scared of. And sometimes they're more rational than others. And even then, there are things that they don't know to be scared of. There are things that they are scared of that they don't quite comprehend yet. So they are kind of taking this form of, a clown with balloons, for example. Before the scene with the hair and the blood, before the scene with the clown and the balloons and the upside-down triangle, representing AIDS and homosexuality and all that, there is the scene at the lake.
Oh, the cliff diving scene.
Yes, which is such a childhood scene.
That feels like something that was straight out of Stand By Me, frankly.
Yes, very much.
And I think it was really necessary for them to have sort of this big bonding moment between the kids.
Yeah, just something fun.
Funny enough, I think it's right around here. The character of Eddie is wearing a shirt that has "Living Car" written on it, and it's not Christine or Maximum Overdrive, but it feels like it's a reference to those things.
Yes.
I never really had any kind of cliff diving experiences as a kid, but it does seem like it would be fun in this context if I was maybe 12. Nowadays, I think I'm way too afraid for that.
Oh, I was already. So I actually have done cliff diving. And it isn't really something I was thinking of when watching this scene. But I was thinking of kind of my own summers in Florida, going into the woods, checking out the creeks, things like that. But I do have, in high school, I did actually do cliff diving. And it's very cool, but also still really fun to think about. Because the first year, I got so scared that the lifeguard had to jump with me. It was in Cinque Terre in Italy. It was a gorgeous place. And I was determined to do it, even though I'm terrified of heights. The first year, the lifeguard had to jump with me. And, she jumped and kind of dragged me along. And luckily, I was able to push off so I didn't hit any rocks on the way down. But, that was fucking terrifying. But the second year, I got to actually do it myself from the full height. No one pushing me, no one dragging me or anything. And I would never do it again. But yeah, I mean, I love swimming, and summers in the lake, you grew up around a lake, and summers by the lake is kind of a big thing too. For me, it was beach break is what we would call it. We'd go out to kind of some beach areas, enjoy that. So
I will say, the water here looks so much better than the water that I would have jumped in as a kid. We've only had nasty, murky water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anywhere I've ever swam in a lake as a kid.
Yeah, true.
Funny enough, so in this scene, we actually have one of two references to its nemesis in the novel. So this is actually not something that is brought up at all in the movies, but the nemesis of it, or Pennywise, is actually a turtle, of all things, called Maturin. Yeah, and maturing.
Yeah, maturing.
But
because turtles live forever.
Yeah.
Or live for 100 years. Is that kind of the symbolism there?
I think so.
Oh,
and
okay.
there's a turtle in the lake, and also the second reference comes just a little bit later after this, when we go to Georgie's room. Built out of Legos in his room is actually a turtle.
That's fun. So they have, a little bit more references to the novel there. Okay.
So a little bit after that scene, we actually get the moment where Mike actually joins this group. And it is a full-on rock war between the loser club and the bullies.
Yeah. Considering the bullies did symbolically throw the first stone, as it were. Yep. Also, I just want to say in my notes, I have a few notes here. First, I wish I could get with some friends and deep clean my house. Sad face. I'm jealous of the Losers Club scrubbing Beverly's bathroom. Richie is overcompensating so much, and Rock War has the same cadence as Trogdor. So that's what I felt was really important about this scene.
I love that rock wars can happen in this movie.
Yeah.
It's extremely dangerous, but also, kids don't give a shit about that.
They don't give a shit. They want to toss some rocks.
It's sure, these kids are being assholes. We'll do a fucking rock war. I don't think this movie has led to any kind of rock war death, so I think we're fine to just include this scene in the movie.
Yeah, they can do some rock wars.
So once we get the entire crew together, we kind of get this explanation as to what Pennywise is. I think they all have sort of their theories, but, Mike is kind of the final piece that helps them sort of figure out, okay, we think we know what this is, now what's the plan? And this is the moment that leads to the scene I kept seeing whenever they were doing kind of teaser trailers for the movie, which is the projector scare. Probably one of the best jump scares in the movie. I'll give it credit.
It's really good. It's really good. It's kind of in the same vein as the earlier book scare, in that it's slide after slide after slide, and it becomes kind of sort of the animated Pennywise stuff. I love this scene. It's like the good version of the magazine scene from The Nun 2.
I feel you. That was also overplayed in the trailers too. Funny enough,
it makes you think about it. I never saw the trailers. Is the funny part for this movie. I'm gonna watch them when I'm editing this episode, obviously. But I never saw the trailers.
Man, one thing that I'm gonna miss once we do this episode is there's probably not a narrator for this one. If I had to take a guess,
yeah, probably not. Maybe on one of the TV spots, but doubtful. That's the thing that sucks about doing these for modern movies. I love me those, like, Stand By Me. I love that stuff. Don LaFontaine, all them. Man.
We're just going to have to get more creative, like the May 19th episode.
Yep. That was a fun one. Hey, even that had the WWE announcer going,
We're getting off topic. So they go ahead and investigate the old house.
Yes. Which I love this because it's such a... I don't mean the movie when I say this, but it's a very Halloween-y scene. It's like, this is a spooky scene. It's fun.
This is the scene, this is over by earlier where Richie had encountered Pennywise.
Yeah, with
the
balloons. Yeah.
We get the where we get this house that has an insane spiderweb game. Like, absolutely all completely covered. And this is also the scene where Eddie falls back and does a table bump.
Oh, yeah, he does. He does a perfect table bump.
I have never seen such a clean table fall in my life.
Yes.
He breaks an arm with it, but it is absolutely pro wrestlers need to take from this, frankly.
Yeah, man. Flat back, everything. Perfect. Good job, Richie.
And what's great about this scene is this kind of teaches them exactly how they can beat Pennywise, because Pennywise manages to trap them all in different rooms here. At least the people who went into the house. There was a few that they left back behind. One thing that's interesting here is we get Richie's fear, which is clowns. Mm-hmm. And in his room, well, we get a whole bunch of clown dolls in the room that he's trapped in. Funny enough, one of them is dressed perfectly to Tim Curry Pennywise.
Ha. Fun little reference.
Yeah, exactly the same costume and hairline. You gotta love it.
So one thing that's really interesting to me really is just how hated these kids are for, like, being kids and daring to think maybe this town isn't perfect. It's like these kids are going through so much and getting no support from people supposed to support them. Even the bully that, like, tried to kill the cat, you see later that he has, like, a really awful father who's very abusive towards him.
Oh, yeah. No, I think that that is sort of the point. I think the adults are really kind of the evil of this town.
Yes, and it's sort of, like you said, all these kids are trying to do is exist, be kids, they're imperfect, they're flawed, and yet, all these adults really are just kind of projecting their own kind of trauma and disappointment in growing up in this small town and sort of, I'd say that in horror right now, generational trauma, and in movies in general, not just horror, generational trauma is a very big theme in a lot of them. You have everything from, like, Everything Everywhere All at Once to, like, I don't know, The Babadook, I guess, all these sort of, like, trauma through the ages, trying to be the one that stops it, and that is kind of the entire point of, again, this film, is that, all these kids are in different ways being preyed on by adults, being betrayed by adults, being, like, forced into situations where they are not being protected when they should be. And
there's a scene where Beverly kicks her dad in the dick, and it is more satisfying than Pennywise's actual legit death at the end of this movie.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's, like, way better. Absolutely.
Because I don't know if it's because of the fact you're sort of seeing it as kind of like Pennywise dying is kind of like more of a symbolic thing, but no, I do think that it is. You are absolutely completely disgusted by this man by the time that she just fucking kicks his ass.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about something. It's really funny that the game Richie plays in the arcade is Street Fighter 1.
Yeah, before Street Fighter 2. Honestly, I kind of think that that's a little charming.
Yeah, no, I actually respect that a lot. Because they could have just went with the easy one and went with Street Fighter 2. But in both this movie and in It Chapter 2, in one of the best scenes in It Chapter 2, it is Street Fighter 1.
You know when Street Fighter 2 rolls around, he's going to be all like, listen, I told you all to pick up Ryu. Now I have the biggest head start.
Yeah, listen, he's going to be so into 2. Then 2 Turbo's going to come out, and he's going to be like, guys, this is the best game ever. I could smash you all in the dick.
I am so...
There's an alternate universe where instead of becoming a sad gay man, Richie grows up to become Evo champion.
He can be both.
He can be both. There are sad gay men in the Evo scene.
But, you know, it was 27 years between this version and the last version of it. Just in case we ever get a 2040s remake, we're going to have to get the Street Fighter V cabinet in here.
Yeah. He's going to be one of the people, like, they're going to nostalgically talk about El Fuerte.
Oh, yeah. Also, still on Movie Watch, around the scene, we do also see that Nightmare on Elm Street 5 has replaced Batman and Lethal Weapon 2. Which, very fitting to the themes of this movie.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love that. And this is also around where the fun part about this movie is that there is some genuinely great humor. And one of my favorite little bits is Eddie not knowing what a placebo is and calling it a gazebo, including in like his like huge rant. So yeah, basically they go to the pharmacy and the cool teenager at the counter who chews bubble gum and is disaffected and youthful tells him that, like, you know, his mom's been feeding him placebos, and you know he mishears it as gazebos, and like it's rant about how he's not going to take his pills, like yells that he knows that she's been giving him gazebos. Just a great little joke. I really enjoy it a lot. It was just fun. I wanted to shout it out.
Yeah, I think that you know, that's still the same thing where you can kind of feel the Stranger Thing connection in a way. It does have like that 80s feel to it where it's not afraid to kind of blend genres from time to time.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important to this movie's success. Like, it feels like a movie you'd put on at Halloween. It's
So we are actually really close to the ending of this movie, the final confrontation in the sewer.
And I will say there's a lot of things that we kind of glossed over because
I don't think we mentioned Bill by name yet.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot.
Bill, who is Georgie's brother. I think we mentioned a few scenes he was in.
Yeah. Like, you know, there's the scene in the basement where he sees Georgie's where Pennywise tries to tempt him with like Georgie's body, and yeah. There's a lot of really great scenes, and that's not to like say that any part of this movie is like worth skipping. If nothing else, we just wanted to really hit the parts that really stood out to us, either thematically, the small parts, because this is a very point A to point B kind of movie, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's very well done. And you can just watch it yourself. And I'm sure there's tons of great things that, you know, you will find. But, you know, we didn't want to just, like, go bit by bit. But we are getting to the climax here, and visually, some really, really cool scenes.
We get Beverly getting kidnapped and taken down to the sewer. Pennywise's headquarters, where we get the scene I remember people talked about the most outside of the bit in the sewer, which is Pennywise the Dancing Clown.
That thing is awesome. I love this scene. It is great.
I love that he himself doesn't seem to move as the camera just goes like completely erratic. I guess I shouldn't say he doesn't seem to move. He doesn't change expression.
Yeah. It focuses on his head as his body moves around his head, and the scenery moves, but like his head does not move. It is uncanny. The visuals are awesome.
He looks like a toy.
Yeah, the music is great. He's doing this goofy little dance. It rocks. It is such a funny, creepy scene. I love it. Yeah. And because then they just nail that. It's funny and it's creepy. And then this is the part that I love, when you kind of see something more of his like actual true form of when his whole head splits open, and it's these nasty teeth and this glowing light, his huge throat. It is horrifying. I love this scene. This is probably one of the coolest scenes in the movie to me.
Is it as scary as a starfish, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think of starfish.
We're gonna
Starfish do have weird cloacas, I guess.
We're gonna have to do a poll after this.
Yeah,
weird teeth thing versus regular starfish. Include a picture
scarier?
of Patrick, actually.
Yeah. Which is scarier, Pennywise or Patrick?
So we actually, so this scene actually reintroduces the bully from earlier as well, who killed his father. He got kind of brainwashed by Pennywise on TV, and now he is here to finish the job and kill Mike and the rest of the group. Absolutely crazy little scene. I just want to shout out. It doesn't really add much to the movie. But he comes in completely covered in his father's blood with another rock.
Yeah.
Well, we get more rock scenes here.
He just kills his dad with a rock.
No, he doesn't kill his dad with a rock, but Mike fights the bully with a rock.
Oh, right. Yes.
This movie has so much rock-based offense.
Yeah.
Very two astronauts on the moon coded.
Yes, exactly.
Followed by them pushing said bully down the well. There should have been a scene in It Chapter 2 where they're like, so I kind of killed a guy back in the 80s.
Yeah.
It was a kid.
Hey, guys, we kind of killed this guy.
Y'all remember that? I mean, it was in defense, but...
Yeah, it was kind of freaky, huh?
Anyway,
No, guys, I was too busy thinking about the clown.
So this leads to a final confrontation with Pennywise.
Yeah.
First in Georgie form, and then a variety of different forms.
The Georgie parts are so upsetting, to be honest. They are... Those things freak me out. Like, just really, really upsetting.
Bill's whole arc revolves around him needing to finally accept the fact that his younger brother is dead and he's not gone missing.
Yeah, and it's, again, one of those sort of coming-of-age things where...
He can't be saved.
Yes, and he has to kind of, accept that this has happened, and it's hard. He sees this as, these manifestations of Georgie as sort of, again, these sort of abstract ways of dealing with big things that kids are not equipped to deal with, and yet have to on a daily basis.
And then they just all beat his fucking ass in the store.
It's really fun that a lot of this is just sort of, fighting their own fears in order to remove him of his power, and then they just beat him to death with sticks.
And then his head fucking floats around and then explodes.
Mm-hmm. And, I just want to say, we kind of skipped over it a little bit because of the Pennywise the Dancing Clown scene, but I really did love just when you see all the floating bodies of the kidnapped kids.
Oh, God, the visual of that vortex.
Visual. Yeah, amazing visual, just absolutely amazing visual. It's really a shame that this final confrontation is so dark. As we mentioned, that whole scene is just way too dark. That's just a modern digital filmmaking thing. So many people make their scenes way too dark. I'm just saying. Show us the stuff. Give us the clown. What are you scared of? I want to see the creepy sewer.
I think it's one of those rules in horror, which is things are never scarier if you can see light.
I mean, that is true. That is true. I absolutely believe that you need some darkness in horror. But this is a little bit much.
That's fair.
Yeah.
We get the finale of this movie. Not them beating Pennywise. We have a whole scene after them because we need to follow it up with a blood pact.
Yes.
For them all to come back and face Pennywise because they know exactly when he's going to come back if he comes back.
Yeah. Because earlier there was a fantastic scene where they went into a library, and they've been doing research, studying, and I love that. I love a good library scene in a horror. It's fun. I love researching into the occult and seeing the characters figure things out and put the piece together.
It properly wraps up everything.
Yes.
And before they leave, Bev and Bill just share a sweet moment with one another where he kisses her and she leaves before coming back and kissing him right back. And that's their first kiss.
It's very sweet. They also mentioned Portland, but they're probably talking about Portland, Maine.
Yeah.
But I got excited because I liked Portland, Oregon much.
I mean, Around the Oregon area is where they filmed Stand By Me. So,
Oh, hey, maybe they did. Yeah. And
But-
then at the very end, they reveal the thing that, surprised a lot of people.
right as the credits hit, we see it, followed by the subtitle, Chapter 1.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, very, very, very cool. And it really is a great movie on its own, is the thing. I think that it really does nail. It functions as both a great sort of follow-up and reference to the King movies of old. Like the blood scene, I'm not saying it's absolutely a Carrie thing, but, you think of a fountain of blood, someone covered in blood, you think of Carrie and the pig's blood. You see locations that are very reminiscent of, if not the actual places from Stand By Me. You see, all these little references to the book, all these references to the mini-series. I think that this is it ended up being a very wonderful tribute, as well as just a really good movie on its own that, you can put this in a Halloween playlist, and I think you'll make everyone happy.
Easily one of the best mainstream horror movies to come out in the last 10 years, I think.
Yeah, 1,000%. Just a strong film that I think, again, this is what it taps into with every other Stephen King movie, because we kind of talked about this. Stephen King is the mainstream horror guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's funny, like you mentioned that review earlier, and I didn't think to interrupt it at the time, but it is funny. Like, we have to say, Stephen King is back in form with this adaptation of It, something based on his 80s novel that he had no involvement in besides signing off on it.
Yeah. And, but even then, you see that, like, hey, Stephen King movies were always the horror movies that were okay to like, to a lot of people,
Let's talk a little on It Chapter 2.
Yeah, let's do that.
We watched both of them back to back, so for me it's all part of the same experience, even though I've only seen the first of it this time.
Yeah, we only rewatched the first one. We did not rewatch the second one because we really wanted to talk about the first one in depth, but I like Chapter 2 a lot.
I talked about this. I didn't like the adult section in the book, but I really enjoyed Chapter 2. I think the hate is unfair.
Yeah.
I think they've really outdid themselves, kind of like still getting across everything from the book, while at the same time making the final confrontation with Pennywise feel all the grander. But the fact that maybe this movie all takes place in a cave, I think most people I see complain about the pacing. To me, it was fairly tight.
Yeah, no, I liked it a lot. I thought that they made a great, double feature. To me, the heart of the movie, comes with sort of that melancholy of sort of the traumas we keep from childhood and how they affect us in our adulthood, the things that were left unsaid, the things that, we fear, the things that we never confronted like we should have.
The final line in Stand By Me really rings true, I think, to the themes of 2, with the whole, like, ending to the book.
Yes.
There's nothing that's going to be like that moment in Derry back in the 80s. But, evil never truly dies in this world. It just kind of takes new shapes, which is kind of the point of 2. Like they're recognizing, honestly, even more problems in their modern day. The one we keep mentioning is, Richie, whose arc means so much to me.
Oh, absolutely.
His whole thing is kind of confronting the fact that he is a gay man.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely, and everything that he's in a life he'll never have what he dreamed of, really. Or what he yearned. He spends a life yearning after something he isn't even sure what it is. And there's this beautiful scene in the second movie where he goes to the arcade, now covered in dust. The old Street Fighter 1 machine still just broke my heart. You know, it's beautiful. I really think that it's beautiful because we talk a lot about the losers gang, and that's the thing that really got to me is that one of the books that I mention a lot, that our friends mention a lot, it's basically a Bible. It's called The Queer Art of Failure by Jack Halberstam. I believe I've brought it up on the podcast before.
Yeah.
Where it is about how living as a queer adult, you have to embrace the concept of failure, by inherently failing, at society, in a sense, because you are living a life that is not just inherently by who you are. And that is why the concept of the losers really does mean so much to me, because it shows that, yes, you are losers, you are outcasts, you are not in society, and yet you can find each other and work with each other and make the world better together and do what you can to make your lives work. And I think that's really, really something special.
We all keep encountering new fears, but we all just need to confront it.
Yep.
I will say I'm a little worried about how Welcome to Derry is going to handle things, not because I think it is infallible, or even these movies are infallible, but
they're not. I'm not going to say that either of the movies are, in my top 100.
I think the point has been made very clear here that, King is not perfect, but, we've not gotten a piece of media for it that has not been based on the book yet.
Yeah, it's very strange. I think it's a very strange thing to even exist. Like, I mean, what are you going to show? Pennywise was evil and defeated by people in the 50s now? Or, I guess?
There's one thing, and I don't know how much of a spoiler this is, but they've announced this as far as the casting is concerned. One of the characters seems to be playing Dick Halloran from The Shining.
Huh.
Yeah. The groundskeeper.
Okay. Are we doing the Stephen King extended universe here?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Like, are they MCUing it?
Yeah. Dick, go and get Christine. We need to run over Dolores Claiborne.
The funny thing is, they kind of did this already with one of the Stephen King TV series. I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Wasn't it just called Castle Rock or something?
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I will say also, King doesn't like directly admitting this, but I think it's very obvious that at least partially his work is influenced by the like of Lovecraft. Lovecraft had a lot of connection between his different stories too, and Arkham versus Castle Rock, for example.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I admit, ever since I was a kid, I've always enjoyed books that are like separate but shared universes. My earliest experience with that was Sharon Creech's books. She did Walk Two Moons, Absolutely Normal Chaos, and Blue Mobility, and all of them featured a town called Bybanks, Kentucky, and just different characters from different eras who all like were either from or knew of Bybanks, Kentucky. And I've always loved that idea because I just like that. So, it could be interesting. I don't know if I'm going to watch it. But, we'll see.
I guess maybe we'll talk about this whenever it comes out. Maybe we'll watch like a little bit of it.
Yeah, we'll watch a little bit of it so we can kind of follow up on this because I think, that is kind of what's coming next is that, like we said earlier, unlike the rest, Stephen King is still out there.
And even though this is the end of our arc, we do have more episodes planned. In fact, we have a real fun arc that we're excited to dive into coming up here. This is actually one that we've talked about since we first talked about making this podcast. We actually want to tackle the life of famous kung fu actor Bruce Lee. But so that will be our next arc. But before
our next full arc, yeah.
Yes, but before we get into that, we are doing a one-off episode, and it'll be our first ever musician. She may not be a household name, but she is a tongue-in-cheek comedy musician who is happily ditzy and happily horny. And we're tackling the only musical that has ever been written and scored by them. It is Miss Julie Brown, and I'm talking about the 1988 sci-fi comedy Earth Girls Are Easy, and I could not be more excited about doing this one.
You've been excited for this, and you've been on a real Julie Brown kick. I'm excited. I know you love this movie. I haven't seen it yet, but I know that Julie Brown is, a genius. I wish it was easier to find her show, like her old MTV show, because it's just so funny. I'm really looking forward to this. So yeah, we'll put up more announcements tonight or whenever this goes live. Put them on the website. Speaking of, this has been our episode. Is there anything that you want to do to kind of wrap us up involving, Stephen King or anything that we have in the future?
As far as Stephen King is concerned, I really think we tackled everything. Really, this arc has gone on. It's not even... when I was first thinking about us doing Stephen King adaptations, I was initially thinking this was going to be maybe about 3 or 4 episodes. We ended up extending it to 6 just because King has always just been so extremely talented. So I think it really goes to show you can't really sum up him and his influence in just maybe 2 movies or 3 movies. He is... that legendary and that important for the world of horror. Maybe not the most important name. Maybe he's not perfect, but I don't think the world of horror would be the same without him.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Well, this has been Roll Credits. Again, I had a great time. I have been Aaron. That has been Mandy. Again, this is an Armbar Studios production, so if you want to see us, find out more about our projects, find out when episodes release, you can always subscribe to us. We're on pretty much every podcast platform out there, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts. You can go to our website, armbarstudios.com. You can also follow armbarstudios.com on Blue Sky. But that has been that. We will see you next time for Julie Brown. And in the meantime...
3, 2, 1, roll credits.
But in my own way, I am king. Hail to the king, baby.
Roll Credits is produced by Armbar Studios and is part of the Aaron and Mandy Network. The intro and outro music is provided by Daniel Vodovos, available on Bandcamp. For more information on all of our projects, visit armbarstudios.com.